When 16-year-old Lily Carson walked into a truck stop diner at 2 a.m. clutching $84, a backpack with 3 changes of clothes, and an 8-month pregnant belly she'd hidden under oversized hoodies for as long as possible, running from a foster father who wore a sheriff's deputy badge and had been assaulting her since she was 14. She whispered 5 words to a gray-bearded Iron Kings motorcycle club president that would trigger the largest biker mobilization Texas had ever seen. Please don't. Send me back. What happened next would expose a corrupt child services system, reveal a predator hiding behind authority, and prove that sometimes the only people willing to protect the innocent are the ones society calls dangerous. The Flying J truck stop outside Fort Worth smelled like diesel, burnt coffee, and the desperation of people passing through. It was 2:17 a.m. on a Thursday in October when Daniel Bishop Ramirez pushed open the glass door, his Iron King's vest catching the harsh fluorescent light. He wasn't there for food. He was there because his son had called from 2 states away, voice urgent, saying a girl showed up at his youth outreach center claiming she was in danger and had nowhere to go. She's pregnant, Dad. Really pregnant. And she's terrified of something. Daniel was 57 years old, president of the Iron Kings Texas chapter for 9 years, and a former Army medic who'd spent 3 tours patching up soldiers in places that didn't appear on any map. He stood 6 feet 2 inches with silver-streaked black hair pulled into a ponytail, a neatly trimmed beard, and the kind of steady presence that made people feel safe even when everything was falling apart. The patches on his vest, the Iron Kings logo, the President rocker, the various writing pins, should have made him intimidating. Instead, with his wire-rimmed reading glasses and the small medical cross tattooed on his right forearm, he looked like what he was, a man who dedicated his life to helping people who'd run out of options. The girl sat in the farthest booth from the entrance, wedged into the corner, like she was trying to melt into the vinyl upholstery. She looked maybe 16, 17 at most, with auburn hair pulled back in a messy bun, and a face that was trying desperately not to show emotion. A gray hoodie 3 sizes too large hung over her frame, but it couldn't hide the unmistakable swell of late pregnancy. Her sneakers were held together with duct tape. Her jeans had been modified with elastic panels that looked homemade. A worn backpack sat beside her, so older fabric was literally coming apart at the seams. But it was her eyes that made Daniel's chest tighten with recognition. They moved constantly, tracking every person who entered, every movement near her booth, every potential threat. The hyper-awareness of someone who'd learned that danger could come from anywhere, especially from people who were supposed to protect you. Daniel approached slowly, making sure his footsteps were audible so she'd hear him coming. When he was still about 8 feet away, he stopped, kept his hands visible at his sides, and spoke in the gentle voice he'd once used to calm down wounded soldiers going into shock. "Evening. My son Carlos called me, said there was a young woman here who might need some help. That you?" The girl's eyes snapped to his face, then immediately dropped to his vest, taking the patches, the club colors, the President rocker. Her whole body went rigid. Her breathing stopped. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, "Are you going to make me go back?" The question hit Daniel like a physical blow. Not, "Are you going to hurt me?" but, "Are you going to send me back?" Which meant she was running from somewhere specific, somewhere she'd been forced to stay. "No, ma'am," Daniel said quietly. "Nobody's making you do anything. I'm here to listen if you want to talk, or to help you get somewhere safe if that's what you need. No pressure. No strings." He gestured to a booth across the aisle, about 6 feet from where she sat. "Mind if I sit? My knees aren't what they used to be after 20 years on bikes." She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. Daniel took that as permission and lowered himself slowly into booth, deliberately positioning himself so she could see the exit behind him, giving her an escape route if she needed one. For a long moment, the only sounds were the clatter of dishes from the kitchen and the low murmur of a TV playing the news on mute. Then the girl spoke, her voice so quiet Daniel had to lean forward to hear. "Your son said you help people who don't have anywhere else to go." "That's right. My son runs a youth center in Dallas. Kids in tough situations, runaways, kids aging out of foster care. When they need help beyond what he can provide, he calls me." Why would a biker help foster kids? Daniel smiled slightly. Because I was one. Spent ages 12 to 18 bouncing between 7 different homes. Some were okay, some weren't. I learned real quick that the system doesn't always protect the people it's supposed to protect. The girl's hands moved to her belly. Protective, instinctive. What if the person you're running from can use the system to find you? Then we make sure they can't. Daniel kept his voice steady, non-threatening. What's your name? She hesitated, then, Lily Carson. Lily, that's a good name. Daniel nodded once. I'm Daniel, but most people call me Bishop because I used to be a chaplain's assistant in the Army. Now, Lily, I'm going to ask you something, and you don't have to answer if you're not ready. But the answer helps me figure out how to help you. Are you running from someone who might be looking for you? Lily's breathing quickened. Her eyes darted to the parking lot window, then back to Daniel. My foster father, Richard Brennan. He's a sheriff's deputy in Harris County. There it was, the piece that made everything make terrible sense. A cop, which meant he had resources, connections, authority, which meant Lily had probably tried to get help through normal channels and been shut down because her abuser wore a badge. Tell me what happened, Lily. Take your time. Start wherever feels comfortable. The story came out in broken pieces, like shards of glass cutting Lily's throat as she spoke them. Her mother had died of an overdose when Lily was 13. No father listed on her birth certificate. No family willing to take her. She'd been placed with Richard and Patricia Brennan, a foster couple who'd been approved by the state for 15 years. Richard was a sheriff's deputy with a spotless record. Patricia was a stay-at-home mom who seemed kind and patient. For the first 6 months, everything seemed normal. Then Patricia was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's. Within a year, she was in a care facility, barely recognizing anyone. And Lily was alone in the house with Richard. It started with him coming into my room at night. Lily whispered, tears streaming down her face now. Just to check on me, he said. Then he started sitting on my bed, then touching my hair. Then her voice broke. I was 14. I didn't know what to do. Daniel's hands had clenched into fists under the table, but his voice stayed gentle. Did you tell anyone? I tried, 3 times. First, I told my caseworker. She called Richard. He came to the meeting in his uniform, said I was acting out because of my mother's death, that I'd been caught lying before. The caseworker believed him. Second time, I called the abuse hotline. The investigator who came out was Richard's partner from work. They laughed about it together after she left. Said troubled girls make up stories for attention. Lily's voice had gone flat now, emotionless, like she was reading from a script she'd memorized. Third time, I went to school and told my counselor I needed help. She called child services. Same caseworker came out, saw Richard in uniform, apologized for bothering him, and left. After that, Richard said if I ever told anyone again, he'd make sure I disappeared. Said he knew how to make it look like I ran away. That no one would believe a foster kid with a dead junkie mom over a decorated sheriff's deputy. Jesus Christ. Daniel breathed. Then I got pregnant. Lily's hand moved protectively over her belly again. I didn't tell him. I hid it for as long as I could, wore baggy clothes, bound my stomach. But 2 weeks ago, he found out. He was furious. Said I was going to get an abortion, that he wasn't dealing with a baby. When I said no, she pulled up her sleeve, showing fading bruises that looked like finger marks. He said he'd beat it out of me if I didn't comply. That's when you ran. Lily nodded. I took what I could carry. Had $84 saved from a summer job he didn't know about. Got on a bus to Dallas. Slept at the youth center where I met your son. He gave me food, a place to sleep for 2 nights. Then told me about you. Said you might be able to help. How far along are you? 34 weeks. Maybe 35. Due in about 5 or 6 weeks. Her voice cracked. I haven't seen a doctor. I can't use insurance or Richard would get notified. I don't know if the baby's okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Daniel pulled out his phone. Lily, I need to make some calls. Is that all right? Who are you calling? My brothers. All of them. Daniel met her frightened gaze steadily. You survived 2 years of hell. You protected your baby by running when you had to. That kind of strength deserves respect, deserves protection. And that's what you're going to get. You're under Iron King's protection now, which means about 180 bikers are going to make sure you and that baby stay safe. I don't understand. You will? But first, when did you last eat a real meal? Yesterday morning. Gas station sandwich. Daniel stood slowly. Okay, first things first. I'm buying you dinner. A real dinner. Then we're getting you somewhere warm and safe. Tomorrow, we're getting you to a doctor to check on that baby. And after that, his expression hardened. We're dealing with Richard Brennan. You can't fight a cop. Watch us. 20 minutes later, Lily sat in Daniel's truck eating a burger and fries while Daniel made calls. She listened, tried to understand what was happening. Snake, it's Bishop. I need full mobilization. Every brother in Texas who can ride. We've got a pregnant 16-year-old running from her foster father. He's a sheriff's deputy in Harris County. Been assaulting her since she was 14. She tried to get help 3 times. System failed her every time because he wears a badge. Yeah, it's a blood debt situation. She's 5 weeks from delivery and hasn't had any prenatal care because he's using the system to track her. I need everyone at the clubhouse by sunrise. And I need tech to start pulling everything on Richard Brennan. If this bastard's dirty enough to rape his foster daughter, he's got other skeletons. Daniel ended the call and looked at Lily. You ready to stop running? What did you just do? Called in protection. By morning, you're going to have 180 bikers making sure you and your baby are safe. But first, we need to get you to the clubhouse. It's secure, it's warm, and my wife Maria is a former OB nurse. She can check on you and the baby tonight. The Iron King's clubhouse sat on 12 acres outside Fort Worth, a sprawling building that had once been a warehouse. As Daniel's truck pulled through the gate at 3:30 a.m., Lily could see motorcycles already parked in neat rows, more arriving every few minutes, their engines rumbling to the pre-dawn darkness. How many are here? Lily asked, voice small. Right now? Maybe 40. By sunrise, close to 200. Why so many? Because that's what brotherhood means. One brother calls for help, everyone answers. Inside, the clubhouse was surprisingly organized and clean. A large common area with pool tables and a bar, but also a kitchen that smelled like fresh coffee, hallways leading to private rooms, and a medical station that looked professionally equipped. A woman in her mid-50s emerged from the medical area. Maria Ramirez, with warm brown eyes and black hair, streaked with silver. She wore jeans and an Iron King's Property of Bishop t-shirt, and her face softened immediately when she saw Lily. Oh, honey, Maria said gently. You look exhausted. Come here. Let's get you checked out, get some food in you, and find you a bed. Over the next hour, Maria worked with practiced efficiency, checking vital signs, listening to the baby's heartbeat with a portable fetal Doppler, asking gentle questions about Lily's health and pregnancy. Baby's heartbeat is strong, Maria said, smiling. 150 beats per minute. Perfect. You're measuring about 34, maybe 35 weeks. When did you last see a doctor? Before I knew I was pregnant. About 7 months ago. Maria's expression tightened, but her voice stayed gentle. Okay, we'll fix that. Tomorrow we're getting you to a real OB who can do a full workup. For tonight, you need fluids, food, and rest. You're dehydrated and underweight for the stage of pregnancy, but the baby seems to be doing okay. Lily ate soup and sandwiches that Maria prepared, drank juice and water, and slowly began to believe that maybe this was real, that these people in leather and patches weren't going to hurt her. By 4 a.m., Lily was asleep in a small but clean private room, the door locked from the inside, Maria's number programmed into a cell phone Daniel had given her. In the main clubhouse, Daniel stood before 50 brothers who'd arrived within 3 hours of his call. More were still coming. The room was quiet, focused, every member giving him their complete attention. Brothers, Daniel began, we have a situation. 16-year-old pregnant girl, 8 months along. Been running for 2 weeks from her foster father, who's been assaulting her since she was 14. He's a sheriff's deputy. Harris County. He's been using his badge to hunt her, filed false runaway reports, got alerts circulated. She tried 3 times to get help. Every time, his connections shut her down. A growl of anger moved through the assembled bikers. She's 5 or 6 weeks from delivery. 0 prenatal care, because accessing the system means he finds her. She's scared, underweight, and she's got nowhere else to turn. Bishop paused, letting it sink in. She's under our protection now. Full blood debt. We're making sure she's safe, the baby's safe, and Richard Brennan pays for what he did. Over the next week, the Iron King's investigation unfolded with military precision. Tech, their computer expert, pulled Richard Brennan's records. 45 years old, 22 years with Harris County Sheriff's Office. 2 excessive force complaints, both dismissed. 1 internal affairs investigation for inappropriate contact with a minor, closed with no findings. A house worth $420,000 on a salary of $71,000. No explanation for the financial discrepancy. But the real revelation came from digging into Patricia Brennan's medical history and finances. Bishop, look at this, Tech said, laptop open on the clubhouse table. Patricia Brennan was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 3 years ago. Within 6 months, Richard had taken out a $300,000 life insurance policy on her. She's still alive in a care facility, but he's been collecting disability benefits in her name while she's institutionalized. Insurance fraud. Gets better. Patricia's care facility records show Richard has only visited her twice in 2 years, but he's listed as her primary caregiver on all state documents, which gives him access to her benefits. Daniel leaned back. So he's committing insurance fraud, collecting benefits fraudulently, and using foster care as a cover while he assaults the kids placed in his home. Razor, a former detective, stepped forward. I pulled Patricia's foster care approval records. Before her diagnosis, they fostered 12 kids over 15 years. After she went into care, Richard kept his approval active, said he had family support. But Lily's the only placement he's had in 3 years, meaning he specifically requested a teenage girl with no family. Exactly. Meanwhile, Maria coordinated Lily's medical care through a private clinic that worked with domestic violence survivors. The OB, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, examined Lily thoroughly. Baby's measuring perfectly, Dr. Rodriguez said, showing Lily the ultrasound screen. Strong heartbeat, good movement. You're at 35 weeks, so about 4 or 5 weeks to go. Considering you've had no prenatal care, you and baby are doing remarkably well. Lily stared at the screen, seeing her baby move for the first time. Is it normal? Healthy? Everything looks great. You did an amazing job taking care of yourself and this baby under impossible circumstances. Dr. Rodriguez smiled warmly. Now we're going to make sure you have the support you need for delivery and beyond. But the investigation revealed something even more disturbing. Razor, using his old police contacts, found 4 other girls who'd been placed with the Brennans over the years. All had filed complaints. All had recanted after pressure from Richard or his colleagues. One of those girls had disappeared 6 years ago, a cold missing persons case that had never been solved. This isn't just Lily's abuser, Razor reported to Bishop. This is a serial predator who's been using the foster system as a hunting ground for over a decade. We need federal involvement, Bishop said. Local cops are compromised. We need someone from outside. I have a contact, Razor replied. FBI agent I worked with years ago. Specializes in corruption cases. She's based in San Antonio. Her name's Jennifer Martinez. I can reach out. Do it. But Lily's safety comes first. We don't move on anything that risks exposing her location. FBI Special Agent Jennifer Martinez arrived at the clubhouse 5 days after Lily had walked into that truck stop. She was skeptical at first. Sitting down with a room full of bikers wasn't standard procedure. But as Razor walked her through the evidence, her skepticism transformed into focused determination. This is a RICO case, Agent Martinez said. Corruption under color of authority, fraud, abuse of power, possibly murder if we can connect Richard to that missing girl. What I need from you is Lily's full testimony. Everything. Timeline, attempts to get help, who shut her down, all of it documented. Can you guarantee her safety? Bishop asked. Agent Martinez looked around the clubhouse, at the bikers, standing guard at every entrance. Can you? Absolutely. Then yes, we do this together. But everything legal, everything documented. I need your word. No vigilante justice. We build a case, we arrest him properly, and we let the system work this time. You have my word, Bishop said. We protect. The law punishes. Lily's interview with Agent Martinez took 6 hours. With Maria and Bishop present for support, Lily told her entire story. The abuse, the pregnancy, the failed attempt to get help, every detail recorded and time-stamped. When it was over, Lily was exhausted but lighter. What happens now? Now we corroborate everything you've told me with the evidence these men have compiled. We interview the other victims. We look at Patricia's finances. We connect Richard to that missing girl, if we can. And when we have everything, we arrest him and make sure he never wears a badge again. The investigation took 18 days. Tech traced financial fraud totaling over $180,000. Razor interviewed 3 of the 4 former foster girls, all now willing to testify. The missing girls case was reopened with Richard as a person of interest. Agent Martinez brought in forensic accountants who documented patterns of fraud, extortion, and misuse of authority. Meanwhile, Lily continued to heal. Proper nutrition, prenatal care, regular checkups, and most importantly, safety. She gained 15 pounds in 3 weeks. The constant fear in her eyes began to ease. The clubhouse had become her home. Maria taught her breathing exercises for labor. Brothers brought her books, snacks, anything she needed. Tech set up a laptop so she could continue studying for her GED. On November 19th, 19 days after Lily had asked Bishop not to send her back, Agent Martinez called. We're moving tomorrow. Arrest warrant for Richard Brennan. Multiple charges. Sexual assault of a minor, fraud, abuse of authority. Suspected involvement in a missing persons case. We executed his house at 6 a.m. At 6:12 a.m. on November 20th, FBI agents arrested Richard Brennan at his home. He was handcuffed, his service weapon confiscated, his badge seized. The arrest made state news. Harris County Sheriff's deputy charged with assault, fraud, corruption. The system that had protected him for 22 years suddenly couldn't distance itself fast enough. Lily, 8.5 months pregnant, cried for hours when Agent Martinez called confirm. He can't touch you anymore. He's in federal custody. No bail. 2 weeks later, on December 4th at 6:23 a.m., Lily went into labor. By 7 a.m., she was in the delivery room at Medical City with Maria holding her hand. Outside, 20 Iron Kings stood watch. At 3:41 p.m., after 9 hours of labor, Lily gave birth to a baby girl. 6 pounds, 11 ounces. Healthy, perfect, beautiful. Lily held her daughter and sobbed. She's safe. She's actually safe. What are you going to name her? Maria asked gently. Lily looked at her daughter's face, then at Bishop standing in the doorway, keeping watch. Grace. Her name is Grace, because that's what I was given. Richard Brennan's trial happened 4 months later. Lily testified via secure video link. Bishop and Maria beside her. She told her truth clearly, without shame. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing: 28 years federal prison for assault charges. Additional 12 years for fraud and corruption. 40 years total. Richard Brennan, age 45, will be 85 before parole consideration. Additionally, he was charged in the disappearance of the missing foster girl. If convicted, another 25 years consecutive. Agent Martinez's final report included a paragraph that would be quoted in law enforcement training. This case was solved not by federal law enforcement initially, but by a motorcycle club that society deems criminal. When every official system failed Lily Carson, the Iron Kings provided protection, investigation, and justice. Every badge-wearing officer should ask themselves, why was a pregnant teenager safer with outlaws than with us? 1 year after Grace's birth, Lily stood in the clubhouse, surrounded by 180 brothers who'd mobilized to save her. She was 18 now, had passed her GED, enrolled in community college, studying social work. Grace was healthy, happy, reaching every milestone. Bishop stepped forward, holding 2 small leather vests. Lily, when you walked into that truck stop a year ago, you were alone and terrified. You'd been failed by everyone, but you survived. You protected your daughter. That courage made you family. He held up a tiny vest with a patch showing a small angel. This is for Grace. It's a promise that every brother will protect her as she grows up. Then a larger vest for Lily, with a phoenix rising from flames and the words, Iron King's family, embroidered above it. This one's yours. You're not a rider, but you're family forever. That patch means you're protected. You're not alone, ever. Lily put on the vest, tears streaming, and for the first time since before her mother died, she felt like she belonged. 3 years later, Lily graduated with honors. Grace was a happy 3-year-old who called Bishop Papa and Maria Grandma, and had 80 uncles who would have moved mountains for her. Lily worked as a victim advocate, speaking at schools, testifying before legislators, appearing on news programs talking about system reform, always wearing her Iron King's family vest. In one interview, a reporter asked, "Aren't you worried about being associated with Motorcycle Club?" Lily smiled. "The Iron Kings saved my life when every official system failed me. They investigated when police wouldn't. They protected when authorities looked away. You want to stigmatize that? Go ahead. I'll spend my life making sure other girls know that safety doesn't come from badges. It comes from people who show up." If this story touched your heart, subscribe and share it. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, because this message needs to reach every community where vulnerable teens fall through system cracks. Hit that like button if you believe that corrupt authority exists everywhere, that pregnant teenagers need protection in every town, and that sometimes the people society fears are the very ones who stand in the gap when institutions fail. Share this with someone who needs to remember that asking for help can still be answered by the right people, that courage comes in unexpected forms, and that family is defined by who shows up when everyone else looks away. Because Lily's story proves that one moment of asking for help, even when you've been failed before, can be answered by people who mean what they say. The bikers didn't become vigilantes. They documented, protected, and gave law enforcement everything needed for a legal conviction. That's real justice. That's real protection. And that's why communities need guardians who care more about vulnerable people than about maintaining comfortable illusions.